July 28th to August 8th, yes, the whole sporting community will be in Birmingham, UK for the Commonwealth Games, including Uganda, who will be sending a big contingent, and that big contingent, we will be anticipating that it returns home with a variety of medals. That and much more we shall be discussing on the sports dish tonight. Good afternoon, Clive Chaze is my name, and I'm here to remind you that you can be part of the show by just tweeting us using the hashtag at the bottom of the screen or the WhatsApp number. I always come with the phone, and you can always be part of the show through your comments, through your messages, through your questions, whatever you want to know of what we are discussing, or something that is sports related and you want it clarified. Trust me, the brains are in front of you. Will always be able to do that. I'm not alone in studio, in the good company always of Mr. Shaban Lubega Benteke Chilevu, who does join us for today's edition. Good afternoon, Shaban.
Good afternoon, Clive, and good afternoon, everyone watching us. I like the part where you say the brains in front of them, and you're rest assured. Trust me, trust me, we'll have you sorted in anything regarding sports. But good afternoon. Did I say good afternoon already?
You want to say it the third time?
Oh my God.
Well, Clive and Shaban here, we shall be closely joined, not closely affiliated, but closely joined by a Mandela of some sort, or you would say Ugandan version of Mandela. That is the president of the Uganda Olympic Committee, Donald Rukare. And with him, we are going to be discussing everything Commonwealth Games. And after he has said hello, I'll let you know why I'm referring him to Mandela. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Clive, I'm not too sure about that very epical analysis. I'm in nowhere near Mandela, so no, I'm waiting very nervously.
This is why I'm referring you to Mandela, because a few years ago, should have been 2 or 3 years ago, the minister in charge of sports in the country, Honorable Hamson Obua, appointed you as the board chairman of National Council of Sports. Now, usually the board chairman serves 2 terms of 2 years. You only served 1 term, and you never took up the responsibility for the 2nd term. Only Mandela has done that.
It's always good. It's always good to let other people come and refreshen the DNA tree. So why not?
Yes, Donald, of course, the subject is the Commonwealth Games. Birmingham 2022, Uganda, like all the other countries that were colonized by Britain, will be sending a contingent for those games. And what we want to know, for starters, how are the preparations going for Team Uganda? The games will be starting next month, 28th July to the 8th of August. It is just a couple of weeks away. And maybe we need to put a few things in perspective, especially in terms of preparations.
Well, thank you, Clive, and good afternoon to all the viewers of CTV. It's always good to be back on this show. And as you said, Uganda will be taking part in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, Commonwealth 2022. We have close to now a team of 83 athletes who have qualified from a range of disciplines, which include athletics, which is one of our flagship sport codes. We have boxing. We have swimming or aquatics, cycling road. We have badminton, table tennis, squash. And then we also have, from the team sports, we have netball and rugby sevens. And Clive and the viewers out there, in addition to having what we'd call the usual sports, we also have para sports. So we have a para powerlifter and a para swimmer who have also qualified. So to date, we have about 83 athletes who have qualified. A few more might qualify before maybe the middle of June. And we are hoping that this team will be ready. A lot of them are preparing already. We have had a number of people doing some events who went to do their athletics in Durban, for example. The swimmers went to Zambia. The boxers have just come back from Tanzania. So the preparations are ongoing, and we are under the leadership of the National Organizing Committee, which is headed by none other than the Honorable Minister of Sport, Honorable Hamson Obua. And yeah, we're looking forward to Team Uganda, as you said, going to Birmingham. The opening ceremony will be on I believe, the 26th or 27th, and then the games will last 2 weeks.
Yes, of course, as the Uganda Olympic Committee, in conjunction with the National Council of Sports, in this case, which is government, you're supposed to play probably a more supervisory role, while the federations are trying to make sure that they prepare these teams of these athletes. From your own side of view as a supervisor, are you impressed so far with probably the kind of work the federations are doing with these athletes?
Yes, I think, as I said, we keep a very close tab on the various federations I talked about, because as the Commonwealth Games Association, not the UOC, the Commonwealth Games Association of Uganda, we are playing a role of working together with government, and we have a very good relationship with the National Council, with the ministry, more importantly, the federations, and the athletes and their coaches. So right now, in the various teams, we have been trying to follow up their preparation, their getting readiness. They have a chef de mission, Moses. The teams, we have the managers, the administrators. So we are working in close liaison with the federations and associations to ensure that Team Uganda is prepared. There have been support so far, been a few delays of the funding from government because of what's going on globally within our economy, but we are still hopeful that the teams are doing the best they can in the present circumstances.
Donald.
Yes.
This is Shaban, and good afternoon.
Hi, Shaban. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. In terms of preparations, I was still on the preparations.
Yeah.
You guys play a supervisionary role, but is there anything special you have been doing for these teams because of the situation, for these federations and the different disciplines? Because you know the situation, like you mentioned, the government has not yet availed the funds. Have you, as the Olympic Committee, done anything in particular?
The Commonwealth Games Federation. These are,
sorry.
These are not Olympics.
I'm sorry, but okay, the Commonwealth.
The brand is very important here.
Yeah, the Commonwealth. Yeah. Okay, you know, I've known you for,
but you're the president
for the UOC
the
and stuff
Committee.
like that. So, as the Commonwealth Organizing Committee, have you guys done anything, especially in particular, to help them out in terms of ensuring that they prepare well?
Yes, Shaban, there are a number of things, as I said earlier, that we are doing. The National Organizing Committee has been in place for close now to 2 years, and the different groups have been receiving different types of support over the years. So, for example, athletics were able to go and attend in Durban. We have the swimmers who are supported by NCS to go to Zambia. The boxers have been supported to go to Tanzania. The table tennis team. So there's some funding which has come from the government as we wait for the major, the major funding to come through. But also, as the Commonwealth Games Association of Uganda, we received $25,000 or pounds from the Commonwealth Games to help specific sports. And that money was then sent, for example, for table tennis to go to Cameroon. Some of the other weightlifting were able to go to different events to try and qualify and participate. So participate and qualify. So we have had different pots or different pathways which complement what government will also be doing. So yes, it has been, could we do more? Of course, we could do more, but there's no doubt that even with the limited resources, we've been trying to apply them judiciously and apply them strategically so that we are able to maximize with the limited resources that we have.
And, if I'm getting my numbers right, the Commonwealth, let me call it association, is one of those associations that have not seen their budget increased to probably something that you are satisfied with, but it happens only once in 4 years. Why is it so difficult for you guys to try and lure government into increasing your budget?
No, I think, Shaban, things are improving. Government has different priorities. National Council of Sports superintends over now 52 sports federations or associations, and also does other sports development work. But I'm happy to report that even before I left NCS, Clive was alluding to it earlier, which I thought he would be happy because people were saying that we are hogging too many positions. So I think it was good to relinquish some of these positions so that others can also, contribute to the sport development. However, it is not correct to say that government hasn't been, because over time, the budget to sports has been increasing. Of course, 2020, COVID showed up. We had moved up to 25.5 billion, which has been reinstated in the upcoming financial year. And the priority sports for government include about 3 or 4. Top on the list is the Olympic Games. So now we're going to be looking towards 2024 Paris. And I hope Shaban, you and Clive can come and represent CTV, possibly. Yes.
Only
yes, Clive always accuses us of taking other people, you know, who he's not very sure of.
It's not an accusation, it's a fact.
Okay, yeah, let's give you the fact. Yeah, our girlfriends and boyfriends is a huge topic of concern in the media. Then we also have as a priority, so the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, and the African Games. So those three have been earmarked by government as priority sports codes to be supported in terms of preparation. So it has been incremental, and we have been trying to continue advocating, creating more allies with Parliament, with Minister of Finance, with Cabinet, and our minister has been doing a very good job, Honorable Hamson Oboa, to really try and push out the message that sports is one of those ecosystems that needs to be supported, because through sports, Shaban, Uganda is amplified, tourism, the people who work in the value system of sport are very many. So sport is not just a mizanyo, but it's serious business. And I think, having been in sports for quite a bit, the sports trajectory in Uganda is steadily improving, and I think there's a growing recognition that sports is serious business.
Yeah, maybe Donald, earlier on you had alluded to the fact that preparations are going on, despite the fact that funding from government is taking a little bit of time. But then, for some reason, this has always been the story of Uganda when we're preparing for such games. The Commonwealth Games, the Olympics, the All-Africa Games, and all these other games. We always find ourselves in a situation where federations are trying to prepare teams and all that, but they're always crying that money is taking a little bit long. Of course, it can't come from the EOC or the Commonwealth Games Federation because, I mean, government is always supposed to fund these activities, and money usually comes at the last minute. There's a time we traveled for games and the kit had stayed in Uganda, and it had to find the athletes where the games were happening. Don't we learn from the previous mistakes to try and correct things moving forward?
No, Clive, I think you should answer your own question. As they say in Uganda, Uzanyiramu answer. We're definitely learning from our mistakes.
No, I mean, not you, because
all of us. I'm not trying to.
You're not in charge of releasing the money, but the people who are in charge.
All of us are part of it. You in the media, we at the CGA, government, NCS. There has been a recognition, and things have improved. Some money has been released, it has been coming. Of course, you have to understand the government system. This is a particularly unique situation of when we have the COVID and all these things. And I also think that we need to keep in mind that these games normally come in the summertime of the global north, which is June, July. Now, this is the tail end. Right now, we're in Q4 of the financial year, which the budget is going to be read, I believe, this month. So it's always, I think, sometimes, and we've been trying to have this discussion with government, because at this time, this is when government tends to release money at the tail end of the financial year. But there's been, of course, a bit of a, an economic crunch because of what has been happening. But as I said, Clive, over the years, look at the Olympics when we went to Tokyo, the Gold Coast Games in 2019, the kit was here on time, things moved very well. And we are seeing, definitely from a planning perspective, I said the local organizing committee has been in place for 2 years. So definitely from a planning perspective, things are improving. And as I said, for me, I'm optimistic. You can either choose to look at the glass as half empty or half full. So we look at it as half full, and we keep on arguing for more. So teams have been going. We have the secondary school teams, had some people who are going to be part of the games. The guys who went to Tanzania for boxing, the swimmers, the table tennis team has been out. And slowly, we have also had others like the netball is playing the games around. So slowly, could it be better? Shaban, Clive, of course, would like to see this money coming way in advance, because in sports, as you know, it's identification, preparation, participation. So we should not just only focus on the third aspect of going to the games. We are not glorified travel agents just to take people on to travel. It has to take people who are willing to compete, who are ready to compete. And slowly, this message, I believe, has become common stay across not only the sports family, but also in the planning people, in finance, in Parliament. And things are improving. And I'm optimistic that it can only get better.
Yeah, then also there's this bit while money takes long or a while to come in, you have federations like the Uganda Netball Federation, who, as we speak at the moment, they have 2 sponsors or partners on board in GoTV together with Plascon, the painting company. And both these companies made it categorically clear that the money that they are bringing on board is to help the She Cranes prepare adequately for the Commonwealth Games. Don't you think that probably this is the direction that maybe you feel all these other federations should, the direction they should take, as we keep on crying government to Yambe, but we are also doing whatever it takes around the corner to see that our work moves the way it's supposed to do?
Yes, Clive, in fact, I was coming to that in terms of the local organizing committee is there, a national organizing committee. We also then had, a week ago, they launched the countdown to the games, and I believe you are there, and we had a number of corporates. So we believe in a complementary approach, so that we have approached a number of corporates. Some of our individual affiliates have, like as you said, netball, have got their people. So yes, we have to have a combined strategy of receiving some money from the Commonwealth Games Federation, as we've got 25,000, some money mainly from government to do a lot of the ticketing, the kit and all those things, but also the corporates play a very important role. And in our launch, when we had that launch, and there were a number of corporates that were at that event, and we're talking to a number of them, we're beginning to see a lot of interest with them coming on board. We're building on the momentum that we had from the Olympic Games, and we'd like to see our corporate partnerships. So at that breakfast, we had a number of corporates, so you're very right, Clive. Working with and together with the corporates is another way of complementing the efforts of government.
Don, I'm going to take you a little bit to the numbers because I was reading the supplementary, the budget proposal for next year, and in the section where they talk about the likes of the Commonwealth Games and then Olympics and stuff like that, there's 20 million that you guys are asking for. Would this be the deal breaker? 20 billion rather, that you guys are proposing that you should be given. Would this be the deal breaker, and is it sufficient enough that to cater for everything, and we don't hear any more cries of inadequacy in
Shaban, let's first agree that the cries have reduced. There'll always be cries, but the cries have reduced. And I think, yes, we put forward a proposal. If that would help us quite significantly if it came in time. But again, you have to understand the money of government doesn't come as it won't come as a lump sum. It will come in sequential quarters. But that definitely, if that was to be provided, it would go a long way in ensuring that we're able to have the different federation associations adequately prepare the teams in advance. So I think it will be Brisbane when the next event where we're going to go. So definitely, whether it's for the Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, African Games, we even have the Islamic Games coming up in August. Adequate preparation based on a sound financial platform would definitely go a long way, Shaban, to ensure that Uganda puts its best foot forward. I see you're putting the medalists from the 2019, 2018 Games in Glasgow, in Gold Coast, building on what happened in Glasgow, and we're hoping to build on those medals going forward in Birmingham next month.
Okay, we'll talk the medals and the games are proper later, but still on the issue of the money, for someone who's out there, them hearing that probably you guys are going to be, okay, we are going to be getting 20 billion. We may get 20 billion for the next financial year. They don't know what the money is going to be used for. Can you please try to go to a simple breakdown of how this money is used and how the federations get it in the end?
Shaban, that's not my area. I know you guys are always tunnel focused on money. But what I can give you is a breakdown of the general areas that kind of money. Because you see, again, 20 billion, you have to know what is it for? Is it the entire budget for the sports, or is it specifically for the games? So I'm not going to get into specifics because I haven't seen the final numbers. But typically, what the sporting ecosystem would require, let us pick, I don't know, I know Clive is into Ludo, or let's say Kwepena. Let's say that the Ludo Federation or Swimming Federation would need to have support before 4 years, because by the time you come to the 4 years or the 8, it takes a 4 to 8 year cycle to create an athlete. So the federation would need support to run its calendar to do development programs, identification programs across the country. So those are one typical area. The federation would also need, apart from running, let's say, identification events in Western, Northern, Central, East, you'd also then need support to ensure that your coaches are adequately trained. You'd also need support for the people that you have identified here nationally to go and participate outside in order to qualify. So some events need qualification, like the Olympics. So you can't just qualify from Uganda. You may need to travel. So that's why there's a lot of movement to be able to go out, acquire points, or acquire the time qualification. So again, there is participation. Then there's also support for things like nutrition, things like other support that you need, equipment. So that's the general area where, so it's really about games, equipment, technical support, administrative support. Those are the kind of general areas typically where funding for sport would go. And then you could talk about, but we always tend to focus a lot more on the actual travel. Who jump on a plane and then everybody's, there's a big halabalo who is on the list, but it's before you get to movement for the games, you need to first get ready. Are you taking people to compete, or are you taking people as tourists, as you always accuse us? So Shaban, it's really about being in that entire value chain system. That do you have enough programs to set? You have having programs in Arua, Kisoro, Masaka, Mbarara, Mbale. That needs money. But then do you have the coaches who know what they are doing? Do you have that officials? So competitions, development programs, kit, then you need to travel to get the points or to qualify. So you need to travel abroad, do the build-ups. And then at the end of it all, it ends up in participating in the games. Again, the biggest chunk of our budget, for example, of the games, will be on things like travel. It's quite expensive. The accommodation is normally paid for at that end. Kit is also quite expensive. And the per diems, because the per diems normally get about $100 per day. It's not really a very huge amount of money. So we get $100 per day, even the athletes. So for 10 days or 14, it's about $1,100. So if you have a team like now of 80, you can see where a lot of the cost centers would be.
Yes, Don, I think I'll ask my question when we return from the break. It's about that time that we go out for a breather. But when we return, I want you to comment on something. You talked about people always wanting to know whether we are taking competitors or tourists. Maybe I'll just tweak it a little bit and ask if we are taking competitors or participants in the different disciplines that we usually take for these games. But that when we return from these messages. Yes, sir, you're still watching the Sports Dish. On this day of Thursday, we have decided that we put Team Uganda that will be going for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK in the spotlight. And joining us on the show is none other than the president of the Uganda Olympic Committee, also the president of the Commonwealth Federation. He will be letting us know how that works. Maybe first of us differentiate the two associations, because you're two in one, because I know next year in 2024 we shall be referring you as the president of the Uganda Olympic Committee. Now you want us to refer to you as the president of the Commonwealth Federation of Uganda.
Now, Clive, let's be clear. I don't want you to refer to me as the president. I'm just refer to the organization. I'm not very big.
Okay, you're the president of
I'm not very big on titles. The title is not important. What is important is what we do. Now, I think the form of our content, as you said earlier, is that what we have is we have different sporting organizations. We have the Uganda Olympic Committee, which is well known for preparing the games for the teams for the Olympic Games, which are every 4 years. But also we have the Commonwealth Games Association, which is under, the UOC is under the International Olympic Committee, and then the Commonwealth Games is under the Commonwealth Games Federation. So we have that, and that's why we have those two organizations. And in many countries in the Commonwealth that we have, some countries, instead of having two separate organizations, they merge them, and the National Olympic Committee acts as the CGA as well. So you'll find that in Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, Lesotho, Barbados, where a few countries have them separate, like maybe Australia, which are quite big, but in most of our kind of global south, we have them as one. And that's how it comes to be that. Luckily, we don't have the Islamic Association of Uganda, but we also cover the Islamic Games.
Under the Uganda Olympic Committee.
Correct. And then under the African Games as well.
And then the question before we went out for the breather, you're talking about the fact that people are always interested in knowing whether Uganda is sending competitors
Correct.
or tourists to these games. But then I would want to know, usually the objective, do we send competitors or participants?
Very good, Clive. And I like the general travel of that question, because we always get a wrong perception. Let's break it down, is that for most of these games, Shaban and Clive, if it's the Olympics, even the Commonwealth, there is an element of qualification. So even when you're talking about the measurement of success, how do you measure success? Some countries measure success by podium performance. So you say, how many golds did you get, how many silver, how many bronze? And that's important. But also questions around, not everybody can just show up. So at the Olympics, there's qualification. Time, points, you go. Or if you're ranked, if it's a team sport. So for example, let's speak with the Commonwealth Games. We have two pathways how you can get the Commonwealth Games. We have the open slot, which means we have 40 slots there, and there are no direct qualification requirements. However, each country has its own team selection policy. So we have been encouraging our federations to inform us what selection criteria they're going to use to ensure that we take competitive athletes. So each of the federations has given us their team selection policy. And we have been trying to move towards the view that even if in the Commonwealth system, which is slightly different from Olympics, the 40 slots, you must be able to show us what is your ranking in Uganda, what is your ranking in Africa, what is your ranking globally. It's still work in progress, but that's what we are working towards. Then the other area, Clive and Shaban, is where you have qualification. So netball had to be in the top, I think, 2 in Africa to be able to qualify. Rugby had also been the top 2. So when they came top of Africa, then they qualified. Then the others, like weightlifting, we have been getting notifications, table tennis. Depending on the number of points you get, then you're invited. So we have official communication that on the qualification side for the Commonwealth, a number of people, I think now they're close to 6, apart from the teams, 5. Even the para swimmers, Husna and the power lifter, they had to qualify. So it's not just that anybody can go, Clive and Shaban, no. Maybe with the open slot, but even the universality, there's a bit of a science to it. Where you might have a problem is maybe on the officials and all those things, that way you always ping us and say we take wrong people or whatever. But for the athletes, yes, they're competitive, and that's why we're trying much as a country to keep on reinforcing that message that we need to have team selection policies. Even in some countries, Clive, now, like even with the Olympics, we have the famous universality or wild card process where they say, we'll give you 1 slot. Countries like Botswana and Uganda were thinking about it, we're not yet there. Countries like Botswana, South Africa said they're not going to accept anybody going under the universality route. You must qualify. Even if they're not general standard like in the Commonwealth for some of the disciplines like swimming, they'll still tell you as a country we have our own time standards because you're investing money into them. So as sports, that conversation has begun happening. So you'll see for the 40 slots that we have, we sat down with the federations and said, where do we have the most comparative advantage? And of those 40, the biggest number is going to athletics. I think close to 18. And then swimming will get 4, boxing I think 6, because boxing is also is one of our sports where we have had a comparative advantage. So we are now slowly moving towards a conversation every time that we need to take competitive athletes. But the competitive athletes, Clive and Shaban, goes back to your earlier question.
Yes.
Is the preparation, is the participation done in time? So that you're able then to take the right team going forward.
Don, okay. And sticking with whatever you have been explaining, with your expertise and the time you have been spending, and then the issue of the criteria that I know you are well versed with, what is your level of confidence in Team Uganda going into the Games?
My level of confidence is quite high because we are trying to ensure, as I said, for the Commonwealth Games, the 40 slots, there's no direct qualification requirement from the Commonwealth Games people. It's upon the country. So the country, for example, can decide to say, all those slots are going to give them to athletics. You could decide, but that would not be. So what we are trying to do, we came from a previous time, 10 years ago, when those 40 slots or 30, you divide them equally amongst all the federations. Yes? But now we're saying, no, there must be a criteria. And that's why we have given more slots to athletics, because we have a better advantage, we believe, as a country and you see from the medal table you've been showing, the bulk of the medals in Gold Coast came from athletics and from boxing.
Boxing, yeah.
So we look at it and now, but we are continuing that conversation, and I would like to report that it's good that now federations are beginning to realize that it's not just a matter of saying bona bagende. It has to be bagende na bagenda kola yochi. You must be competitive, yes? Even me, I'm a swimmer, I still swim, you know. I won't put myself in a position to go for a master's event when I'm not ready. So yes, do we still have to do more work? Without a doubt. But we are slowly having this conversation becoming a way of life that if the good thing with like Olympics and others, the standards are there. You cannot go unless you have qualified. Commonwealth Games is slightly different. Islamic Games is also slightly different. They are not qualified. Some athletics, they'll say you must do the 10 seconds. If you haven't done 10 seconds, you can't go. So again, that's what I'm saying for the different sports, Shaban and Clive, not anybody can go. There are time standards for some of them. Like rugby, you have to be the best in Africa. So there's no way you're going to say you're just taking. Now the question now, the secondary question you'll ask is, how then is the rugby team of Uganda selected? Do we have to make sure the best team is going forward? And that's why we've been asking all the federations, show us. We have a general team selection policy, which I can share with you, which we did at the UOC to guide. It's voluntary access, and they all accepted it. But also as a country, we need to be having these things. And now, how do you select the netball team? How do you select the rugby team? How do you select the swimming team? How do you select the boxing team? Where sometimes the standards are not specified by the organizing committee of the games.
Yes, Don, talk about selection and teams qualifying. One of the teams, one of the disciplines that we shall be sending to Birmingham is the sport of table tennis. The girls did qualify for the Commonwealth Games. And one of those girls is 12-year-old Jemima Nakawala. Now, if I'm not mistaken, she will be the youngest athlete from Team Uganda going for the Games. But what are the chances that she will be the youngest athlete in Birmingham? Because that will be... She could
easily be. We have to check. I don't have the statistics for all the other members of the Commonwealth, but she could easily be one of the youngest. And again, that's a good example, Clive, that she had to qualify. So she was actually, for table tennis, it's slightly different. They had to get a number of points or positions in order to go forward. So they wrote to us and said that Uganda, we're pleased to inform you, X has qualified. I think the most recent that we got was yesterday. We got a notification that Mr. Chivumbi in weightlifting had also qualified. So you have to meet a minimum standard. So we definitely take competitive people. So for me, when I always hear people saying this issue of, are we taking tourists? In sports, even if you have qualified to be at the Commonwealth Games, the Olympics, that in itself is a great achievement because not everybody does. And even when we use the medals, Clive and Shaban, let's go to how many countries win medals? Look at the Olympics. We were close to 204 countries, 5. Only less than 86 made it the medal table.
We were ranked second on the African continent?
Yes. So you find that, so measurement of success, yes, can be number of medals, but also it can be things like qualification is an honor to qualify for your country, but also things like, have you done your season's best? Have you made a national record? Have you done a personal best? And those are the kind of things now, that kind of analysis we are beginning to do more and more in Ugandan sport. And we need to keep that conversation going so that we're then able to raise the bar slightly higher.
Yeah, then Donald, one of the most interesting topics we've actually had this year should have been also on Monday and Tuesday. There was that talk because before the Olympics, you have the World Athletics Championships, which will be happening in USA. Joshua Cheptegei, Jacob Kiplimo, Perth Chemtai, and the others will be taking part in the World Athletics Championships. But then there's a short time between the two events, and some of them have to cross to Birmingham to also take part in the Commonwealth Games. And I remember athletics is the discipline that of late we confidently talk about and we say we are going to win medals in athletics. But then there is talk that Joshua Cheptegei, who won double gold in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters 4 years ago in Australia, won't be coming for the Commonwealth Games. Have you received any communications from him or the Uganda Athletics Federation, though it is still hearsay that we shouldn't be paying attention to?
We have to pay attention because he's one of our top athletes. But you see, one of the things that is happening, Clive and Shaban, is that because of the disruption that has been occasioned by COVID, 2022, 2023, 2024 is a very compact year in terms of games. So as you've just rightly said, in June, Oregon, just June to July, the World Championships will be there for athletics in the US. And then 28th July, we have the Commonwealth Games. Then we have the Islamic Games. Then we have, then different sport codes like swimming. We have the World Championships in Budapest in June. We have Commonwealth, Islamic Games, then the Africa Championships. So it's a very busy time for sports. So we also have to look at things like timetabling, scheduling. For some of those long distance, there's also a requirement. You cannot run so many for the health of the athletes. There's also the question around, are those games attractive to some of the different top athletes? And that's one of the conversations we've been having in the Commonwealth family. How do we make these games more attractive so that the top level athletes in the world come? Is it a qualification event for the Olympics? So that's a debate Shaban and Clive, we need to come back here and discuss in terms of how do you make it. So even for us, what we are putting in that budget that you talked about earlier, Shaban, we are trying to budget and hopefully to remain in, to have incentives for our athletes. What are these incentives? We have this, what we left work in progress, the athlete recognition and reward scheme. So if you win, because at the Commonwealth Games or Olympics, if you win a medal, I can see our man Kisa there running the, if you win a medal at the Olympics, Clive, you don't get any money from the Olympic group.
True.
Or the Commonwealth. However, your country can give you, like what we have in Uganda, either a car or monetary. We gave them 50 million for the, so we have put that budgetary consideration into each games so that we can incentivize our athletes to participate, because some of them, they'll ask what is the economic dividend. So that's one of the things also in that budget that we have put in, incentives for the athletes so that we are able to incentivize them, all of them, but also the medal winners. We also have the presidential directive and pledge that anybody who wins at those major games will get 5 million for gold, 3 silver, and 1 for bronze. So these are all, and then some get cars. So these are all incentives at the national level that we are putting in place to try and ensure that we attract the best. But this timetabling issue is an issue of concern, and we're waiting to hear from the Athletics Federation to answer you directly, Clive, as to what will be the final team that will be in Birmingham.
Yeah, but how big would it be in terms of not having Joshua in Birmingham? How big a blow will it be?
It would be a significant blow, but I believe we have enough depth in the Commonwealth Games, because again, going back to the science of sports, Clive, you have to look at the different types of games that we have and what level you're pitching, you're different. Is it a developmental? Is it a qualification? Is it? So there are different types of, tiers of games. And we believe, going back to I said we gave athletics 18 slots, we believe we have the depth to be able to do Uganda proud in terms of going forward. So if we have our top athletes, it's not only Joshua, we have others, Halima, Winnie, Jacob, and others, Peruth, Chelengat, who did very well in Durban and in the road race. So there's quite a number, and we're trying, I said, we are having the discussions to ensure that the best team that Uganda can put forward goes.
Donald, I would like to pick your mind on something that I keep on encountering when I'm out there, especially with the fans. Uganda is predominantly, we have predominantly been getting these medals in boxing and athletics. And if I may ask, what do you think the other federations are not doing right to ensure that we can probably start picking up on consistent medals in other disciplines? And if is it just that we are not blessed enough in other disciplines and we can only concentrate on athletics, or there's something we can do better in one way or another to ensure that we can start gathering medals?
Shaban, you're asking a very hard question, which needs more than, I see on social media, my good friend Robert's 2 minutes is becoming an issue. I don't think I can answer that in 2 minutes. But it's a combination of different things. Some countries have tried to say, where do you have comparative advantage? Let's pick Fiji. Fiji says, for us, we believe we are good in sports, but we are better in rugby sevens. So they put most of their strategic emphasis on rugby sevens. Our neighbors to the east in Kenya, athletics. So athletics and a bit of rugby. Ethiopia, athletics. Uganda, we could say boxing and athletics. And also rugby, we're doing quite well. Basketball, we're doing quite well on the continent. Swimming, we're doing quite well on the continent. So to answer your question, Shaban, which is a very big question, is we need, first of all, to do deeper research on where do we have the comparative advantage. And that's why things like the ranking I was talking about earlier, we're asking our federations, give us evidence-based analysis. What ranking is done in Uganda? Yeah? What ranking is done in East Africa, or Clive? So if Clive is ranked number 83 in Ludo in Africa, and then is ranked 100 in the world, there is no way he's going to perform at the Commonwealth Games. You see where we're coming from, Shaban? Yeah, so if you take him, the best he's going to do is become 101. So you know that, because if he's ranked, if the rankings are current, you don't expect number 100 to jump to the quarterfinals or semifinals. Yeah, so you already know, like even our swimmers, to be honest, we know where they are in terms of the ranking. So they're going there more for developmental and experience. So when they come back to the African level, then we know that they're within the, like now Chirabo came fourth in the recently events in the secondary schools. But it has been a deliberate program we have had with that young lady. She's very talented. And by the time we now know that in Africa, she's ranked 1. In Uganda, she's in some events ranked 1. Now globally, secondary school, she's ranked 4th. She came 4th. Globally, she's going to get her ranking higher. So we need to have this conversation. So 1, we need to understand our ecosystem better. But also 2, to answer your question, I'll not say what are they not doing, I would say what should they do, maybe the way I would pitch that question, Shaban. I think the federations need to have, again going back to support, they need to have development programs in the school system where they're able to ensure that they have a very big athlete base in all the different disciplines. So if you have 1,000, now swimming we began with 20, now we have over 2,000 swimmers. So if we can get them up to 10,000, then you have a bigger base. Then once you have a bigger base by working with the schools, primary schools and secondary schools, do they have the requisite coaches, facilities, nutritional support, and those other things? So once you have that total ecosystem, what we said, identification, participation, and then you come to preparation and then participation, then we're going to begin seeing more and better results. You look at rugby. Rugby has had that very deliberate school program, identification, coaching. They go to South Africa with the high performance. So becoming Africa #1 is not by accident. It's a deliberate, consistent, persistent program that they have had for the last 8 years. So when you see Uganda Rugby Union winning and becoming #1 in Africa, Shaban, it's not by accident. They have a strategic plan. They have got the school system. They have got and they have regional events. So it's a deliberate plan. The guys you're showing out there. So those guys didn't just wake up. Some of them are abroad, crutch, and so they're coming to play. So you need to have that holistic approach of identifying all those different ingredients to be able to have success. And I really believe it's not just about getting ready to get tickets to go and participate. That is the tail end. You have to begin from below. Because even if you begin swimming at the age of 18, Shaban, there is no way you're going to win a medal in the Olympics. Never. Yeah? You have to begin swimming. I began swimming at the age of 4. So you begin at 4, but then have the right program from 4, 5. By the time you get to 12, you're now in secondary school. By the time you get to university, you're now ready. You're now 18, 19. But you see, now that's why we're trying to have this debate in Uganda. We need to take sport more scientifically, not just having things by accident. So even these Joshuas, they have been training for the last 10 years. What we are seeing now, Joshua, Jacob, these guys have been world junior. They have come from a system which has been there for quite some time. So to me, I think, Shaban, that's what we need to do. Research, know our areas of advantage, but also support the federations, but again, based on empirical data. Where is Ludo? If, going back to my good friend Clive, who I like taking it, if you're ranked number 100, where are you going?
What is your rank in swimming in the world?
Right now, at master's level, I'm ranked number 2 in some events in Africa. Globally, I'm not ranked
number 2,
quite
but
well.
Every time you go for events, you're winning bronze. How are you in second
And
position?
silver, I won a silver recently. So at least it's slow, but I'm 53, so really. But at the global level, not so well. I went there and I lost, but I knew I was going to lose. So I really went there for the experience, not for the podium.
Yeah, maybe also to compare the times. The last games we had were, yes, I know your time is fast spent, and we are going to let you go. The last games we had in Tokyo, the Olympic Games, COVID-19 was still around. There were so many restrictions. Of course, you didn't have fans traveling for the games. You didn't have the usual people who usually traveling for the games. The organizers made it categorically clear that whoever is coming to Tokyo must be coming to serve a purpose, not for holidaying or stuff like that. Has it loosened a little bit for the Commonwealth Games, or the strict measures around the SOPs because of COVID-19 are going to be the same?
No, of course, globally, the situation has improved, though we are seeing an uptick of cases. You're seeing China is still a bit closed, Shanghai and other places. Even here in Uganda, I was seeing something that some cases seem to be slightly brewing in some departments. But for now, the information that we have, Moses Mwasi, our chef de mission, was at the meetings in Birmingham with the team. And for now, the COVID protocols will still be in place, but fans will be allowed. So there will still be requirements for social distancing, masking, but at least it will be slightly different from what we are seeing in Tokyo in terms of the gross risk. Because at that time, we're still in the second wave of Omicron. So I think with Birmingham, it will be slightly better. England as a country is slightly more open. There's even no mask requirement in some jurisdictions. But in public places, you put on your masks. We shall also ensure our teams will be tested. They're all vaccinated as we speak, all those who are going to go. So we're trying to ensure that, notwithstanding, we're taking caution, because even for the health, the primary focus is on the health of our athletes and the well-being. So the best interest of the athlete is our primary focus. So yes, it will remain an area of focus.
And lastly, who will be traveling, who will not be traveling?
In what sense?
It is something that you've been talking about.
In what sense, Clive? What do you mean who will be traveling and who will not be traveling? I will not be traveling. All I can say, Clive, is that the right people, the responsible people, the eligible people will be traveling. And again, just to emphasize, with the 2 minutes that I have, we have 4 categories of people who travel.
Yes.
This question always comes up every games. And I want to assure you that we really try our best, Clive and Shaban, to take the right people. So group number 1 is the athletes that have qualified, those 83 that I've told you about. Those will be staying in the villages. With the Commonwealth Games, because of COVID, we are going to have, for the first time, 3 different villages. We normally have 1, but this time, because of COVID, there are going to be 3 locations. So the 83 will be the athletes. They will be supported by about maybe 35 to 40 officials, okay? The coaches, the physios, the team managers, the administration. Those guys will stay in the village. That's group number 1, okay? Group number 2 is going to be the Commonwealth Games Association team. Myself, the Secretary General, and maybe 2 or 3 guests. Like normally we get those from the executive team. All right? That's group number 2. And I am also entitled to an accompanying guest. So Clive, I can take you or Shaban, or I'll take my wife or a girlfriend.
You take
but that's
Shaban.
between me and my wife.
You take Shaban. Take Shaban.
Well, I don't know whether I want to share a bed, because the accompanying guest,
he will sleep on the floor.
The accompanying guest stays in the same room. So I'll either take Jackie, my dear wife, or a girlfriend, but that will be between me and Jackie. So we can have that conversation.
Then the third group?
The third group is government. So the head of delegation can either be the head of state. In our case, Honorable Hamson Obua is coming, and the government officials. He also has meetings to attend. The 4th group is you, and we encourage you. There's Kingdom Sport. You can buy, actually there are 5. You can buy tickets. So Ugandans can go on the portal, Kingdom Sport Inc. You buy your ticket, and you get a ticket for the games, and then you get your air ticket and visa, and you go and watch the games, because now they're open. For the Olympics, they were closed because of COVID. The fifth group is the media. The media also can get accreditation to go. So those are the 5 categories. And Clive, as I always say, we shall publish that list like we did for the Olympics, and it got us a lot of flack, but we are committed to publishing that list so that you can tell us who you think we have taken or not taken. I give you that. I will announce that list here, so then you can tell us. Because even if I took my wife, I would declare it.
About publishing the list, the accompanying guests have never appeared on the list.
They do, sir.
Yeah, but Donald, probably in 30 seconds, your closing remarks as we get out of here.
Now, first of all, I'd like to thank you and Shaban for giving us time to talk about these important things. We thank the media for what you're doing to amplify sport on all our different partners. But I would just like to encourage all the viewers of CTV, let's get behind Team Uganda as we get to the Commonwealth Games, because we believe Uganda is talented, and there is no doubt that sports made in Uganda is on the upward movement, and we look forward to Team Uganda doing us proud in the Birmingham Games. I ask all the athletes out there, remain disciplined. We have not talked about anti-doping, we have not talked about managing mental stress and all these other things, but it's important that our athletes remain focused. This is a unique opportunity, and let's go forward to do Uganda proud and showcase our athletic potential on the field of play in Birmingham. So thank you very much.
And on that note, I also want to emphasize that CTV management is doing whatever it takes to make sure that CTV is live from Birmingham when the Commonwealth.
And I can see you're taking COVID very seriously, because you've put me in a dungeon somewhere. I don't know where you guys are.
Don't we have to get out of here. That's all the time we had for you today on the show. Thank you for being a part of the show. Our guest, Donald Lukari, the president of the Uganda Olympic Committee and the president of the Commonwealth Games Federation Uganda. Dennis in the control room, Milfat, Lovie, Robert, and Gerald. Thank you very much for making this show a success. It has been Clive Taze in the company of Shaban here. We wish you a blessed day.